Good evening, my local drones. This is Bio Gundam here, and I'm back again for another video. So today, me and my buzzy, young Kaiser, we're going to be doing a discussion video on Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. So, Kaiser, introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, it's young Kaiser, or Kaiser Shounen, and my wings are tired, my arms are tired from just beating up that ruby punching bag. So I just want to come back to my roots and talk about some fucking children's card games.
Yeah, you see, Kaiser's training for like the heavyweight boxing championship, and he needs to, he's going through the rocking training montage. Fire.
Yeah, I'm trying to win that shitting on Bumblebee champion belt. Okay, that's what I'm fighting for right now.
All right, so jokes aside, so Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains is a very interesting show because the initial premise the initial premise was this. And I am paraphrasing this, but this was like the initial pitch before they released further information, if I remember correctly. The sixth show focuses on high schooler Yusaku Fujiki, a hacker who doesn't like standing out. However, he gets drawn into encounters with people as he tries out dueling for once. The show's theme is take a step forward and try, on the premise that kids should start to try things out instead of just giving up on the first try due to being overwhelmed by information. So when I first heard that initial pitch, I had just gotten off of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, and when I first heard that, I was kind of like, I was a bit on the fence about it. I did check it out. I did decide to check it out because I'm into IT, and also, I do tend to like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Shows with older protagonists. So keep that initial pitch in mind, folks, because what we were told, what we're getting, and what we actually got are totally different things. I mean, I feel we essentially got Depression the anime.
Yeah, buddy. Like, essentially, because, and even then, for me, I guess, coming off of Arc 5 the same way you did, Bio, I was also interested, even by the initial pitch, from what I remember, because I think I watched Tekken while one talk, and watching a Yu-Gi-Oh! Show with a dueling protagonist who didn't even, like, enjoy dueling at the start is an interesting premise on its own.
But we will mention about Yusaku, how he differentiates from a lot of protagonists, but yeah, like the idea that he doesn't care, like I would agree, like that definitely gives you a little bit of draw in. Like he's a bit older, like it's similar to like I'm blanking on the protagonist's name from Zexal.
Oh, Yuma?
Yeah, Yuma. Yeah, it's kind of like it's like a character like Yuma, or it's like a character like Yuma, like he's really passionate and shit, but he sucks at the game at the beginning, right? And I kind of. And that initial idea of that he doesn't like the game, I thought it was originally going to be like that, like he's very apathetic to the game, and he just finds out that he kind of has a knack for it. Like, that's what I initially was thinking.
Yeah, same here. But then, like you said, what we got is almost entirely throw this synopsis into the trash because it is a lie. They are lying to you. This is a Matrix simulation. And that phrase is actually really relevant because what the show is actually about is story of hackers, virtual worlds,
AI, conspiracy theories,
and lots of depression.
Yeah, like every character in the show is depressed. Like if you watch like the third opening, like everyone in that fucking OP is depressed. Like they're all like looking up at the sky with like haunting rain shots, or all like staring out into the distance. Like everyone in the show is either depressed or had an incredibly fucked backstory.
Yeah, basically. But which, to be fair, to some extent, isn't necessarily out of the ballpark for Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh no, like a lot of aspects about the show, it hits the same beats, right? Like in a lot of ways, it is very much like your typical Yu-Gi-Oh show. I kind of compare it to Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. Like it's not Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D. So I misspoke. Like I kind of compare it to. I had a late night last night. There was like a family gathering, and I kind of got blitzed, and then I had to do a podcast like a couple of hours later, so didn't go to bed until 3 a.m. So, but like I kind of contrast it with like Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. Like you got a bit of a more older protagonist. You could deal with more mature subject matter, and I lost my train of thought. Never mind.
Yeah, we're a lot of like
I know what I was gonna say. Even Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds that tackles a lot more mature subject matters, a lot more, I guess, say darker and serious in tone than some other some of the other Yu-Gi-Oh shit, it still tackles all the same kind of plot beats in a way.
Yeah, I will say that. Although it's been a while since I've seen 5Ds, and I don't even think I finished it all of it.
I would say in the broad overview, like it fits the same like plot beats in a way.
Yeah, so I would agree on that.
Yeah. So instead of getting a character who doesn't like the game, he's kind of meh on the game actually. But actually, what we have is a dueling prodigy who fights this evil hacker organization called the Knights of Hanoi. And there's also these hyper intelligent AI known as the Ignis, and Yusaku captures one of these. And what I think is like really interesting at the beginning of the show, right? Like you're not given like the full details of why Yusaku's fighting the Knights of Hanoi, what these Ignises are about. Like you're given kind of hints or details, but you're never really given like the full picture. And I think that's great because it kind of teases you enough, like it keeps you invested about why is Yusaku hunting down these Knights of Hanoi? What are these Ignises? What's the secret? What is the connection here? What does Soul Technologies have, which is a corporation in the show that runs the virtual network they duel on. Like you all see these pieces, and in the first couple episodes it kind of like just hooks you in with this kind of mystery of what exactly is actually going on, because we're never actually given the full details.
Yeah, basically. And another thing that makes this even more interesting is that, weirdly enough, especially in the early parts of the show can be very like weirdly somber and atmospheric in a lot of ways. It knows how to put the characters it knows how to set the scene involving the characters, especially Yusaku and Aoi, that really makes them gives a sense that, these are people that are like in this crazy situation that in a lot of ways is outside their control. And that's very different from what most other Yu-Gi-Ohs do, especially in regards to how it's structured, because unlike literally almost every single protagonist, Yusaku is all the way proactive in the plot. He already knows, at least for the most part, what is going on, and he is gunning for it.
Yeah, that is kind of an interesting thing you bring about it, but because like with a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh protagonists, like they are proactive from time to time, but like a lot of it is like reactions. I mean, for example, if we take like the original protagonist Yugimoto, I mean, he's spurred on by Pegasus because his grandfather gets kidnapped. Jade and Yuki gets spurred on by the threats to his friend, and then his ex-girlfriend, lover, she, whatever, tries to kidnap and like merge the dimensions together in some yandere blood crush. Yusei has his past and the destiny of a signer. Yuma has the Baryon and Astral World conflict, and what's the
didn't start out that way with you. Oh, you're talking about Yuya, right? Well, Yuya's was mostly like reactive because the people from the other dueling dimensions started pulling all their bullshit, and that's
but like a lot of the protagonists from Yu-Gi-Oh shows are very like reactive in the plot. Yusaku, however, is 100% active. Like, the dude's on a grind set, alright? He is going to crush the Knights of Hanoi.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because in my opinion, like, Yusaku is pretty much the freaking Batman Sigma male grind set of the entire series. Like, he is, and I guess we're not gonna go super in deep with his character right now, but we can do so a little bit later.
We're gonna talk about it in relative to we're gonna go through the arcs first, and then we're gonna talk about like his character a bit more in depth. But like the first arc right off the bat, he is very proactive, and it is actually quite refreshing. Like it's mostly him like investigating, doing leads. Like it is mostly him pushing the plot forward, and it's funny how it is the villains in a way. Like the villains are proactive, but they're actually more reactive in the show. Like they're reacting to Yusaku, or as he goes by, his mysterious alter ego, the Playmaker. He's making them plays. And not just in dueling. But yeah, like a lot of the stuff the antagonists do, they're reacting to fucking Cyber Batman, essentially. Like, what does Playmaker have planned now? Sugoi playmaker, I did not expect that. Yes, my hated rival.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes the show all the more tense. And it actually makes the mystery... It's not even like mystery bait. Okay, so there's a difference between mystery baiting and the whole mystery box bullshit. You know, that whole Ryan Johnson nonsense, or JJ, whoever came up with that crap. Since Yusaku is actively trying to find out about the Knights of Hanoi and the secrets in regards to his past and how Soul Technologies is connected to that, and all the other characters are doing that, you don't feel like the show is leading you on most of the time. You're following through this shit. And even the moment-to-moment things that happen, especially in the first arc, are like top tier, back to back to back.
Yeah, like insane. The first arc was amazing. Like it starts out quite slow and it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. Knights of Hanoi get involved. It builds up. Go Nizuka, Blue Angel, Ghost Girl, the MVP of the show, our always older brother. I think it's Zaizen.
Yeah, Zaizen.
Can we just say that Zaizen is the MVP of the show?
Dude, oh my god, I'm
gonna
gush about him in a minute when we talk about my favorite duel in that arc, okay?
Alright, we'll continue. But, like, for the first arc, right, the show has, like, 3 arcs, but for the first arc, starts out a little slow, right, but it's just back to back, that mystery, finding out this mystery, and it never feels like it's a mystery box, or, I mean, there are a few little, like, you know, there's a few things where you think it's one thing, but it's actually another thing. Like, there's a little bit of that, but for the most part, like, they're just on the hunt, on the grind. Like, they're just chipping away at this mystery. And I would say that some of the stuff I kind of figured out on my own kind of came true. Some of it, however, did surprise me a little bit about, I think the thing that surprised me was the Lost incident itself. That was kind of, I didn't think they'd go in, like, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, that like...
Or, like, the connection, like, here's the thing. Yeah, like, the thing, when it came to the mystery, right, I didn't expect the Lost incident and also the connection with the Ignis. I thought they were more loosely connected, not like the mystery in the show is very intimately connected. Like, it's very intimate. Like, it's not just like, oh yeah, this thing is like loosely related. No, it's entirely related, and that's why I think, and like the Lost incident and the Ignis themselves, I definitely didn't see that coming.
Yeah, well, to a certain extent, I kind of did, but the details what surprised me more is just the details of the incident itself and how far they even went into that and how that affected Yusaku and everybody else who was involved in that whole thing. Because you wouldn't necessarily expect it from like directly the main protagonist of the series, or if it does, it's already in like, say, settings and parts of the series where you would expect that sort of thing, like Yusei's past from 5Ds and shit. But like, they just go almost full hog with this kind of story. This is like, the backstory in a sense is a lot of what you would expect from a much more like not exactly seinen, but like the sweet spot between like a shonen and a seinen manga or anime, in terms of just how brutal it low-key kind of is, especially with the technological angle of the series.
And there's a scene I want to mention in the second season or second arc that kind of really encapsulates this, but we don't want to blow our load too early. But yeah, like, this show doesn't pull any punches, which I think, like, the show, like I watched a little bit of the dub for the show. They went a bit more for a comedic route, but like, for the sub version of this, they don't pull any fucking punches. Like, it's just back to back. The suffering train never ends.
Is night and day. I saw clips of some of the dub the other day, and like, I never felt this way about the other series before, because up until like maybe up until arc 5, I always watched, you know, the dub stuff first. But like, watching Vrains subbed first and then looking at what freaking 4Kids' corpse did to it, I'm just like, what the shit, man?
I mean, it's funny, but like, when you watch the original sub, I'm like, wow, this is much fucking better.
Yeah, it's, you know, no surprise, but even then, it's funny just seeing that firsthand for the second time now.
Yeah, and speaking of the mystery, I also like how it builds up its characters, especially in the first arc. Like, we are given a lot of information about these characters, and and some of it they don't actually like say out loud. Like, for example, Aoi Zaisen. Like, we see right away that she's depressed, she's suffering from a lot of things, and there's this one scene, right, where she's like sitting on her chairs, and she's just like wide-eyed, almost like staring directly into the camera, and it's very like kind of uncanny Valley effect kind of look, and it's creepy.
Yeah, that's what I meant earlier when I said that the show definitely knows how to just slow down and just let the characters' faces and actions just speak for themselves, especially in Aoi's case, because most of what it basically encapsulates her character, especially in the beginning, is almost entirely subtextual, but you get all the details that you need, and the show just, again, slows things down. Like, I rewatched a scene where after she was doing her whole thing as like a Blue Angel, which, you know, she isn't supposed to necessarily do because you know, that's dangerous for her brother's career. She just sits down on the couch, has a drink, and looks out the window, just staring.
Staring.
You get the impression, just staring.
Yeah.
You get the impression that she kind of just feels empty with just being herself outside of the virtual world.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like an interesting theme you bring up, right? Is that the contrast between some of these characters' real lives and their online personas is very interesting. Like, for example, Oi, like, you know, she is Blue Angel. She's this very like genki, very hypergenic, kind of like an idol. Like, she's very smiley and stuff like that. But in real life, she is just depressive and uncanny valley effect, and you know, and she has a very like, I wouldn't say her home life is fucked, right? But like, it's definitely not optimal.
Yeah, unlike in we have to keep saying, unlike in most other Yu-Gi-Oh series, the way that Aoi's like household, the relationship between her and her brother, is much different than most of the other ones because it's not super antagonistic or insanely toxic, but it's that in a much more subtle way because of it's actually taking a couple of points from Kaiba a little bit with the fact that Akira is literally just working in Soul Technologies all the time, so he doesn't really get much time to spend with Aoi and care for her needs.
And the funny thing is that like if you see the flashback, that's all he's ever done. Because so we'll reveal a bit about we'll talk a little bit about his backstory before we get into like full details. But like there's the flashback scene, right, where basically, you know, they lost their house, they lost their parents, lost everything, and his name is Akira. Akira. Like he basically as a young man has to be like, okay, my sister, we're on the streets, we're starving. I'm good at IT and computers. I need to work and give her a better life. And because he's working and trying to give her a better life, he's not always there all the time. And this kind of creates a bit of a rift between them because, you know, she wants him to be there. However, you know, he's working hard, so she has everything she needs. So she has a nice house, a nice apartment, like everything she wants. Like Akira will give it to her, like no questions asked.
Yeah.
And you even see this relationship. I mean, we're probably going to bring this up, like the duel he has with Playmaker, but you even see it in how he plays his cards, right? Like, I think it's one of his cards like supports his ace monster or something like that, and it's kind of like how, and it's an analogy for how he supports his sister. I think I remember some scene or dialogue they mentioned that.
Yeah. I mean, which, you know, typical Yu-Gi-Oh fare using cards in order to symbolize aspects of either the character's psyche or their past or whatever. But hey, it's still a nice touch, and they do it really, really well. Especially in that duel, which again we'll get to later because I love it so much.
Now the bad things about like the first arc, and this is like for the entire show in general, is the fucking notorious flashback, like the notorious recap episodes.
God. Okay, guys, I don't know if there's a guide out there, but if you want to watch this show, you're going to be really annoyed of all the freaking recap episodes. Like, literally, there are so many times in the show where there's a recap episode, like five episodes apart from each other or some shit like that. It was weird. It made no sense. Which, apparently, in the latter parts of the show, and this kind of goes into a lot of of the issues with the show in general. But apparently, from what I've heard, there were a lot of, and I mean a lot of issues with the production of Vrains at Konami. So, and the team behind the show were dealing with so many different restrictions and things like that just really just kneecapped a lot of the show's potential. Not to say that it's bad, spoilers, it's still good, but you really get the sense that the show is literally at an uphill battle every single step of the way, and recap episodes are part of that.
Yeah, this is one of this Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains is one of those shows, like, it's another draft or two another draft away from being like a masterpiece, essentially. Like, because especially in the first arc, right, and we'll go on further on, like, you can see all these good ideas, and I feel like a lot of these ideas they have to throw away. Like, for example, in the first arc, you know, we're introduced to the chess pieces, the CEOs of Soul Technologies. We only meet one of these fuckers. We never meet the rest of them.
And we don't even know what they're doing and
what their motivations is. Like, they just kind of disappear out of the show. Like, we meet Queen, we meet one of the chess pieces, but we don't see the other ones. We don't meet the bishop, the knight, the king, all these people. And these are important people in the plot, right? They run Soul Technologies. They're a major player in the show, and we don't even see all of them. We only see one of them. So, like, you can see because I do believe they changed director like 14 episodes in, but you can just see like the director.
It's again really disappointing.
Let me finish the thing. Like, you can really see the director like in the show. If you know about the background shit, you can really see the director like pulling his fucking hair out, because you can tell that they want to take it in certain directions. Like, there's certain plot points they want to explore. There's certain things they want to explore, but the suits at Konami are like, no, fuck you. But despite all that, despite the animator and directors trying to rip their fucking hair out, Vrains, despite all its flaws, which we will go more into later, is a fairly good Yu-Gi-Oh! Show. Like, take out the context of it being a card game advertisement, this show is fairly good.
Yes. In fact, I'm willing to bet that it's probably just one of the better ones. Like, top 3 at the very least.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So for the first arc, for the first arc, we are introduced to, like, the Knights of Hanoi and stuff like that, and can I just say, Revolver is fucking great. I love him to death.
Okay, yes. Revolver is absolutely one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Rivals ever. Period.
I would say, alright, I would say for me, he ties with Seto Kaiba and Jack Atlas.
Basically, yes. Like, they are the trifecta of the peak of these kinds of characters, and they do so much with him. There is not a bad scene with him in it.
Oh no, and I love his fucking voice. I love his fucking voice, like, Playmaker! Yo, I love his fucking voice. His Japanese voice actor fucking nailed it. Like, he took the nail and smashed it through the fucking board with his bare fists. Like, his voice actor, holy fuck.
Yeah, seriously. But not even just that. Everything about this character is so incredible. And since we're sticking with the first arc for right now, the Knights of Hanoi are insanely competent for the most part.
Oh, fuck yeah. Like, they
absolute threat.
Yeah, like,
they show up, shit is going down.
Yeah, that's what I like about Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. Like, you expect them, like, aside from, like, the grunts they have, alright? Like, even the grunts are actually slightly competent, but even then, like, these guys are an actual threat and treated like an actual threat. I mean, for fuck's sake, they built an apocalypse tower to blow up the internet, and they're sucking the souls through the Wi-Fi to power this fucking thing. I mean, and what's great also about them is that, like, a lot of them aren't, like, outwardly evil. I mean, Spectre and, like, Genome, I guess, are the more, like, more evil. But, like, most of these guys, when you understand their motivations, they're a bit more morally grey than, say, quite a few than your usual Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonists. Especially Revolver. Like, holy fuck.
Everything about Revolver's backstory was he is definitely, like, he's more on the anti-hero side of things. And the show does a really good job at having you understand why he believes and does the things that he does. And he doesn't come off like an idiot.
No, it's actually fairly, like, rational, actually. Like, if you when you figure out his backstory and shit like that, and all the shit that happened to him, it's pretty logical that he would take the stance. And he never lets up. Like, even when he's an ally, which happens in season 2 and 3, he never lets up. Like, he's always there, and his fucking... By the way, I love his fucking deck. Fucking dragons and gun dragons. That is fucking amazing. And what I also like about him is that, like, him and Playmaker, it's always them constantly trying to one-up each other.
Yes. Like, both of, like, you have these two insanely competent, insanely smart, like, prodigy geniuses that are very stalwart about the things that they believe in, what they want to do, and they are just going at each other full hog, no holds barred, every step of the way, and I fucking love that shit.
Dude, their duels are great. I love their first duel in season 1, and their second duel of the finale of season 1. That was fucking great. Like, it's just back to back, like, oh, I countered you, no, I countered you. Like, it's like watching Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. Like, these two heavyweight champions are just slugging it out, like, back to back, and you don't know who's gonna win.
Oh, exactly. And it's always it's always really, really good, because honestly, what definitely sets him apart from most of the other rivals that we see
is that it's never easy. Like, Yusaku actually struggles. Yeah. Like, it's not like... Yeah. I mean, you can say in other shows, like, yeah, there was a bit of struggle, but, like, you know, there was a bit of struggle, but, you know, in other Yu-Gi-Oh shows, there was, like, this reversal of fortune, and the protagonist carries it away. No, for this show, it's like, it's by a razor's edge that Yusaku wins. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think what makes it really tense that's why I think what makes this rivalry really good, is that it's so, like, razor's edge. The stakes are so high. Like, Yusaku, if you do not win, the souls are going to get harvested, and the net is going to blow up, and the technology EMP wave, and everyone's going to die or be trapped in virtual reality forever until they go insane. Like, you've got... Sorry, I had to sneeze.
And don't worry. Listen, giving Vrains the wank is like weakening your stamina, dog. Gotta last a little longer.
Yeah,
we got so much content to go through.
Yeah, we got so much shit to go through. Like, the rivalry and the duel is so much on the razor's edge that even when I watch the show again and again, I'm still on my fucking edge of the seat. Like, oh, who's gonna win? Oh my god, he countered that. Oh, he summoned Decode Talker. Oh, he summoned this. He countered with this. Like, it's all like the one-upmanship is fucking great. Now I need to, like, blow my nose for a second, so just continue.
Yeah. So
like
so overall, and not to mention the other duelists in the show and introducing the first arc are also really good. We mentioned Aoi a lot. Aoi, literally probably the best Yu-Gi-Oh female character, just flat out. Even better than Aki in 5Ds, and you can fight me on that. Her story is really good, and her brother is absolutely relevant. There are some issues with her that we'll get to in a little bit later, but in the first arc especially, she is phenomenal. It doesn't always feel like that she plays too much second fiddle to the other characters. She's relevant, her motivations are understandable, and it's all great. You have Go Onizuka, who, yeah, in a lot of ways he does fit, you know, the archetype of, like, the character who is just really, really brash, just passionate, but they absolutely utilize not only his respect for Playmaker, but his
the rivalry
motivations. Yeah.
What I actually like about what I like about a lot of the secondary characters is that, like, a lot of them stay relevant to the plot. Like, they're still there. They're not, like, just circumvented to the background. Like, no, they are involved in the story. And Go Onizuka, he's a bit of a divisive character. I both like and hate him.
Yeah, but that mostly has to do with what the fuck they did with him in the second arc of the show.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But, like, you know, the first arc of the show starts out really fucking strong, and I also like the development of the relationship between Yusaku and the AI Ignis, who he calls I. Yes, very ingenious naming conventions.
Yeah, absolutely. But, like, I really love their banter. It's always fun to watch.
Yeah, it's like the greatest comic duo. Like Yusaku's the straight man and I is the funny guy.
Yeah, but they're both them one-upping each other a little bit, especially when Aoi just, takes it, not Aoi, Ai is just taking the piss off of Yusaku just not being a people person, which again is what makes so much of this so much different, because, especially in the beginning, because their relationship is practically an opportunistic one.
Oh, fuck yes. Like,
ends.
it's like Yusaku's basically holding him Ai as a hostage, right? And here's the thing, he says that right up front. It's like, yeah, you're my hostage. I'm using you. Like, it's interesting how it's like a relationship built on opportunism that becomes like genuine friendship, and it becomes a lot more tragic what happens in the third season, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yes. But if I were just to give the first season of the show an overall like rating, I would absolutely give it like a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, which for Yu-Gi-Oh, that is supremely freaking high.
Oh, fuck yes.
Like that is like for Yu-Gi-Oh especially, that's literally like freaking Turn 8 Gundam levels of good. Even aside from that, it's still really good on its own. The first season especially, I feel that going forward, even past 7s, which is in a different direction, right? But still, any Yu-Gi-Oh series in the future that wants to go in similar directions to Vrains and 5Ds, take a page from this season in particular.
Oh yeah. Fuck yeah. Right. So have we wanked off like the? Oh yeah. We should mention that Spectre is just an absolute troll, and I adore him.
Yeah. Yes, I absolutely love him as well.
I love his fucking backstory. Oh, I am Spectre. I speak for the trees. It is the most, like...
I forgot about that.
Yeah, dude, I was watching that. I'm like, what the fuck? It's great and funny, but tragic. But we'll talk about Spectre later, and we go more into characters now. Since we finished, like, wanking off the first season, second season.
Yeah, now we have there are peaks and valleys with this show, and this arc is a
mountain.
Big fucking valley. This one's if the first arc is the peak valley, this is the chasm just on the other side of it. It is such a mixed bag. Now, at the start of it, it's not terrible, right?
No, it's not terrible. Like, at the end of the first season, Revolver swears he'll come back again and kill Ai, and settle his epic rivalry with Playmaker. They stop the evil tower exploding, and Yusaku finally trusts Ai and let him leave to find the Cyverse or whatever the shit. Which, by the way, is a new archetype, but we don't need to mention that. And I will say off the bat, right, like the beginning part of the second arc and like the ending, I quite enjoy. It's just the middle part is very
everything in between is such. Not only is it so freaking repetitive, it is a slog, and for most of it, the main villain of that arc just isn't very good, especially not compared to the Knights of Hanoi at that point. So a lot of it, and also they don't really do much more with Yusaku as a character. They just kind of make him into a sort of like, well, it's not a super overt thing, but again, they don't do a whole lot with him during that arc.
Yeah, like this arc is probably like yeah, like honestly, this arc, this season is probably where Yusaku is at his most passive and most reactive.
Yes, which I mean
makes sense.
Like, it's not even just that the fact that like he's reactive. That is not the problem. It's just that he, up until the very end, is dynamic with the villains and everyone else just not
stagnates.
Only very bland. Yeah, it's very bland, but also because, like, again, nothing's really done for his relationship with the characters that he is already introduced to during that arc. So we're just kind of going through the motions, especially when a new character shows up. Not Ghost Girl. We forgot to talk about Ghost Girl. She's great, but a new character
Black Widow Spider.
Yeah. A new character shows up in this arc named Soul Burner.
Soul Burner!
He does was a lot of good for the show, but also a lot of not good. Again, we'll get to characters later, but that is part of what drags the story down, because so many of the characters that we already got introduced to are basically forced to not really do as much, because we gotta give Soul Burner some duels.
We gotta suck off the Soul Burner.
Yeah, we gotta suck off the Soul Burner. Like, it's Crow syndrome from 5Ds all over again.
Although, like, as much as I like Soul Burner, like,
it's not as bad.
It's not as bad. Like, here's the thing: as much as I like Soul Burner, I would say that Crow at least had a lot more charm.
Yeah, that too. Like, Soul Burner didn't have anywhere near as much charm to support any of this until, again, the latter parts of the second arc and the last arc. Those are great, especially with his duel with Revolver. It is phenomenal.
Great.
But almost everything before that just felt like Yusaku, even in the middle portions of the arc and even a little bit of parts of the first arc, kind of felt like the way they utilized him in duels kind of made him sort of feel like a sort of like self-insert fanficky bullshit, Mary Sue protagonist sort of deal. So they slapped a lot more of that on the Soul Burner just to catch him up to all the other characters, and it feels so jarring, and it isn't as earned as the other ones.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, even in the opening and the ending song, like the ending song Boy, like they try and play off Yusaku and Soul Burner having like this connection and bond. Like, yeah, they're comrades, but I don't think they're that close.
Yeah, they don't. That's another issue. They don't really do as much with their relationship as you would probably think, especially given the fact that their pasts are practically the similar.
The same. But anyway, going back to like the villain, I like the stuff of Bowman and Haru. The other stuff, I am very mixed on, especially when it comes to, I mean, should we just spoil it? Who the actual main villain of this arc is?
Sure. Yeah, spoilers ahead. But again, this show is worth watching, definitely. But if you don't want to hear any more, just, stay away from this part, because we're gonna be spoiling the shit ton.
Yeah, after this point, there will be actual spoilers. We're not going to be a bit more vague. But so the second arc introduces we forgot to talk about Yusaku's like sidekick or hot dog man. We'll talk about him later. Mr. Daddy Longlegs.
He's cool, yeah.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah,
so basically, I like it how there's like a little flirtation thing with fucking Ghost Girl. It's fucking adorable.
Yes.
Anyway, so in the second arc, basically, his younger brother's data gets stolen by this, like, fucking light-shaped entity that just pops out of the fucking television and sucks his soul to the Netherworld, Data World. And Yusaku goes to hunt this thing down. And this is where we get introduced to Bowman and Haru. I actually like Bowman as a protagonist, however, as an antagonist to Yusaku. However, I don't think he has as much as the edge or the razor's edge that, say, Revolver had, but I still think he's a very fun antagonist.
It would have been interesting if they basically made how he becomes at the end of the arc something that was either established in the beginning or something that was established at least in the midway point.
Yes.
Because I felt like by the point that we did get in the show proper, it just felt like, again, they dragged it so much, especially when they basically had Bowman fight Yusaku like 3 freaking times, and he was shit in all of them, and they used a lot of the same dumb gimmicks. It just wasn't very engaging at all.
No.
So we just kind of, again, just going through the motions until we get to the final duel with him and the other characters that are actually well written.
It's great.
They could have just done so much more with that.
Oh yeah, I will say it, like the beginning for Bowman was cool and the ending was cool, but like the middle part is just terrible. It's just, oh god, make it stop, save me. But like what I like about like the ending part of their duel, and we're about to spoil the main villain in a second. What I like about the main part of the duel is like, even as he's about to die, right, he says, "Saranara, my eternal rival, playmaker, I have eternal respect for you." I love that part. Like even when he lost, right, he still had respect and honored their rivalry, and I thought like he went out like a Chad.
Yeah, he did, and that's a lot of what I feel also sets apart this show from most of the other Yu-Gi-Ohs, is that like the main villains of each of the arc, like they don't come away with just being like this amorphous bad evil Bowman, they actually just like have goals that just so happen to be opposite from Yusaku's, but they still come away understanding each other and just
I mean Bowman at the end respects Playmaker. Like, he views him as like his ultimate rival, and like Playmaker is pushing his personal growth. You know, I think it's like what Machiavelli said, or like maybe a Sith Lord in fucking Star Wars. Like, you know, a good Sith knows how to cultivate good enemies because they push you forward, and that's almost like what Playmaker. That is almost what Playmaker is for Bowman. Like, he's his ultimate rival to push his evolution forward, and you know, Bowman respects him for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, a lot of it also has to do with just Yusaku as a character being a lot smarter than pretty much every other protagonist. So he has a much more firmer foundation of what he believes, but also the cracks in his armor are a lot more direct and potentially exploitable. And the show does know how to fiddle with those parts very well, so that you come away with him being a lot more mature than the other ones, which is definitely a much more different experience. But them being able to consistently do that, especially in the first arc, is good. They don't really use it as much in the second one, but they definitely hit right out of the park at the very end, and especially at the last arc. If you want to get to that, that's fine. But there's one more character that gets introduced in this arc that we gotta mention. What's that bounty hunter dude's name?
I think it's Blood Shepherd.
Yeah, Blood Shepherd. That dude is the shit.
I love his fucking cyborg arm that he has in real life and shit.
Yes. Oh my god. And also just he comes off as like a sort of secondary substitute a tiny bit for Revolver. But unlike with Soul Burner, he doesn't seem like he's just there just to pad out the screen time or to like make the duels like a bit more varied with like a new character design. His goals are much more clearly defined. His duels are much more interesting, and he comes away with a lot more respect because he's just another anti-hero. He has his own goals. He's doing his own
thing. And he's quite fucking ruthless, man. Like, the dude is like he doesn't have time to pad out episodes. Like, he's going for the throat. He's going for the kill.
Oh yeah. I wonder what name they give him in the dub. Hold on. Let me look that up.
All right, let's look it up. Yeah, because we're gonna move on to like the main antagonist and like what the conflict is in the second arc in a second. So yeah, look that up quickly.
Oh, they call him the Shepherd. Boo.
Boo. Boo. Boo. Dude, Blood Shepherd is such a cool name.
No, it is. It is the right amount of edge.
Yeah, but anyway, so the main villain, so you know the Ignis AI, right? That like Yusaku's hunting and shit. Apparently, one of them has gone rogue because one of the reasons why Revolver is trying to destroy the Ignis, right, is there are calculations that say that the Ignis will destroy all humanity. It turns out, actually, it turns out that 5 of the AI will be able to peacefully coexist with humanity, except for 1. And this is where we get into the character of Light. Not Light from Death Note, Light the AI, or the Ignis.
Yeah, no confusion there.
No confusion there.
Light is absolutely great. I love Light. Honestly, the second arc should have been about him. Or at least if they were going to use Bowman again, just have how he is at the very end be how he is in the beginning, or at least the midway. Because Light is a diabolical fucking douchebag.
Yeah, and basically this massive conflict starts out between the AI to those who want to ally with humanity and for those who want to rule and subjugate it. And the interesting thing about Light is that he corrupts one of his fellow AI, Windy. He corrupts the Wind one. And the Wind Ignis, by the way, we should probably spoil this, but all the AI are based on, so the Lost Instant basically is, all these AI are based on people, right? And which are based on people, right? Like,
specifically tortured children.
Yes, these AI are powered by tortured children.
Yes.
Let their hate and suffering flow, yes.
Yeah, apparently they use, like, the data from, like, the kids that were kidnapped and were forced to duel. And they were put in these pens where they were given, like, strict meals.
Starved to death, starved and dehydrated if they lost. Like, you know, they got gotta feed their hate and suffering. Yes.
Yeah, and then basically through like the ones that were winning the most, that's how they were able to create the basis for the Ignis AIs. Ones that are able to like process a lot more than normal AIs and have their own personalities and
emotions and shit like that. And the interesting about like the AI, right, as aside from the element motif as well, all of them have like strengths and weaknesses, and you find out that with Light, his major weakness is that he is the most human of them all, the most human AI of them all.
Yeah, because I go ahead.
Yeah, because like he portrays himself as the ultimate perfect AI, right? Like he's the perfect one, he's the golden child, but actually he is the most flawed out of all of them.
Yep.
And like he drags the Wind Ignis down with him. It's really fucked with Wind Ignis because you find out that guy got corrupted, and he either killed or seriously injured the guy, the person he was based on, because apparently these AI, they feel a connection to the people they are based on, and they're kind of like drawn to them. They are influenced by these people, and when the Wind Ignis got corrupted...
I'm pretty sure the Wind Ignis fucking killed him.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised. Like, the show literally almost went there. I'm pretty sure that kid is dead.
Yeah,
100%.
like basically just has like a self-driving car rammed right into him.
Yep.
He did, but he did, boy. Like, and this is what we meant. Why the show doesn't pull any punches. Like this young preteen teenager, yeah, he just got killed and hit by a car. Like just straight up.
Just. Oh my god! And so many incidences in this show happen because of car accidents as well.
Yeah, like Blood Shepherd loses his arm because of like a car accident. I think Aoi and Akia Zaizen lose their family because of car accidents. Like, just a lot of people die in fucking car accidents in the show.
Yeah. But like again,
jokes
so well.
Jokes aside, right? Oh yeah, we could talk about like one more other darker thing. So if you thought the show doesn't get any more darker, there's a scene where the Earth Ignis gets like captured by Sol Technologies. And by the way, the show doesn't turn away from this. They show you point blank as this thing is getting tortured and broken down to data, and it's crying out for mercy, saying like, "No, I'm a sentient creature. Please stop. And it's crying for mercy and all this shit. And the queen lady, one of the CEOs, she just doesn't give a fuck. She's like, yeah, continue. Like,
yeah, seriously. Like because these AI aren't humans and they, there's no blood or anything involved. They rip this freaking thing apart on screen, and the voice and with the voice actor, they are not holding back how painful that is. So you really feel bad for this dude, and you're really thinking that, holy shit, Sol Technologies, I
mean, it's a sentient like creature, right? Like it's like saying stop and shit like that. It kind of reminds you of like Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, right? Or like like Transformers: Age of Extinction, that horrible movie where like the humans are shooting at the Autobots, and the Autobots are like, stop! I'm an Autobot. Stop! I'm a friend. Stop shooting at me. Stop! Like like they're trying, but it's just not working. Like they're trying, and it just doesn't work. Like they're just not going to listen. And it's even extra fucked because like the Earth Ignis sacrificed himself to save another. Like it's so like fucked. Like he tries to like sacrifice himself to like he tries to give up his life to save his friend, and that's like his reward is like just get ripped apart as he loses his memories, and he's like loses his sentience and consciousness. And he's just, and by the way, all the characters see this on TV screens. Like they see this, and it's so shocking to everyone.
It is the worst thing. Like there are some really, really good parts in this arc. Like we're not gonna lie about that. And at the very least, I would probably give it a 6 out of 10. A disappointed one, but a 6 nonetheless.
Yeah, I get it. Like the AI conflict is very interesting. What I also like about it is that like, and this ties to the third arc we're about to get into, right? Is that like all the AI in the second arc, they all die and they're not coming back. Mm-hmm. They're gone permanently.
Yep.
And it actually adds actual stakes as well. These AI, these potential gifts to humanity, they're all dead except for one. AI, which is Yusaku's one, the last survivor.
Yep. And they actually follow through on the implications and results of that. And this results in the final antagonist of Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains being I himself.
Dun 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 dun.
For once, the freaking the spirit partner. I mean, they did this with Astral as well, but it's done even better here. even fucking better, because they not only make him the main villain, they follow through on that immensely.
Oh yeah, and if you see one of the endings,
final duel, the entire series.
It's pretty good. And here's the thing, like the third opening, right? Like I think it's called Change or something by it's done by the same dude who did Overlap in Yu-Gi-Oh, in the original Yu-Gi-Oh show. And there's also like the ending song, like Are You Ready, right? And it's just like this very depressing, melancholic vibe. Like in the ending, right? There's like a scene of like all the Ignis going past him, and you see Ai just so like depressed because he's the last one, and half of this happened by his hand. Like he chose this by his hand.
Yeah. And you when you see him do this, they don't give you all the reasons why he is doing all this stuff outright, and the show kind of understands that, okay, this is the whole revenge angle for the Ignises, not exactly his whole spiel.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention, there's also a vacuum cleaner that gains sentience, and at the end, I feel bad for the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, same here.
Like, this is how good the show is. It makes you feel bad for the fucking vacuum cleaner that Yusaku made in his basement.
Yeah, essentially. Again, the strength of the writing is just so...
We'll get into, like, Roboppy later in the Shing. But, like, the third arc is, like, all the consequences, all the shit, they don't sweep under the rug. Like, no, they go straight into it. Yusaku now has to fight someone that was his friend. And their relationship is very, I mean, we've talked about a little bit of the other shit, right? But, like, the climax for that show, the climax for season 3, is great. It's depressing and hopeful.
Yes. Yeah, it's so bittersweet and does a lot of incorporates so many elements of the other series, but actually just does them in a way that is a great send-off for the show, and definitely encapsulates Ai's character. Because Ai has been great so far. Like, and in the beginning, he's very jokey, you know, flexing his intelligence and his technological capabilities, and playing off a playmaker, and not to mention the other characters as well. But as things progress, especially involving the other Ignises, like, he actively just jokes around a lot less, because those are things that matter to him. And when he has to fight Yusaku, he feels very, very bad about it. Like, not only is like I at that arc is just such a great villain on his own, even though, like, ultimately, you know, he doesn't enjoy doing it, but like his you really see that this is a huge conflict of interest for him, and you absolutely feel for him when you ultimately learn what his exact goal was, and just that, and Yusaku's reaction to it was great, which again is so much different, because to be honest, Astral's whole thing in Zexal, where he briefly dueled Yuma because of, like, I guess his Astral World protocol or whatever, just kind of came out of nowhere. I don't know why that happened. I don't know why that needed to be there, but it did. But this does not feel as tacked on, because we have an entire arc dedicated to this. So we get to focus on Ai's reactions to it a lot more.
Yeah. Can I just say, like, the ending of their duel together is fucking great. Like, I just love it how, like, Yusaku's just got, like, tears streaming down his face as he holds, like, Ai's body. It's like, wow.
Yeah, it is fantastic.
And I love the music too. And, like, it's just very soft. And I think they cut the music when they're doing that, but he goes, like, he says, like, I love you, Ai, and Ai's like, I love you too. And then as he just, like, disappears and fades.
Yeah. Like, I think what makes Ai so great, in this show especially, is that he has a lot of the great elements. Well, ultimately he does. He doesn't start out that way, but he ultimately has a lot of the elements that made Atem, you know, Yami Yugi, great. But unlike with Yami Yugi, his dynamic, Ai's dynamic with Yusaku is a lot more, like, engaging, you know, not just because they're differing personalities, but they interact constantly and change and grow for each other much more consistently in the other series, where it just feels like Yugi is being pulled around by the Pharaoh, and
this show, it's a bit more tit for tat.
Yes, honestly, that's just the whole show in general, tit for tat. Like, almost no character gets insanely shafted except for Go. and a little bit of Aoi, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that
But,
when we
like,
get to
for
that.
the most part, all the characters in the major conflicts in the show are done with so much amount of respect for who is fighting and why they are fighting.
Yeah.
And it's again utilized to enormously great effect when it needs to. This show has a lot of similar peaks to what you would expect from like the best parts of season 1 Yu-Gi-Oh, the best parts of 5Ds, the best parts of GX, whatever you can name it. This show can have it and more at times.
Yep. And by the way, we should also talk about a little bit why I is doing this, because it's not just for revenge. It's not just because I'm the hyper intelligent AI that became evil. It turns out, and this is going to follow through like what the original ending of the show is actually going to be. It turns out that he did this.
I know about this.
Yeah, you know about this, right? Because I showed you that video, right? It turns out that the original ending of the show was the main character Yusaku getting killed and shot point blank with a tank shell. Yep. That was the original ending. That was the original planned ending. Like literally, Yusaku would die being shot right through point blank with a tank.
Yeah, because in that ending, humanity has gotten so advanced in regards to their AIs that their AIs, from what I can remember, they got like out of control or something like that and became a threat. So that started a whole war against them. And Yusaku in that ending was trying to be like, hey, this isn't right. Not all AI are bad. And you know, play a card game with me. Okay, tank attack mode.
I summon my M3 Abrams attack mode, you know, but like, and you find out, right, is the reason why I is doing this, right, is that like, it's partially because he wants to die by Playmaker's hand, but also he wants to save Playmaker because he saw, you know, he calculated things, right? And he saw his friend die. As long as he's still alive, his friend Yusaku will always die, no matter what. And for like, I mean, you could say like, yeah, it's prediction and stuff like that, but for him, right, that is real. He doesn't want that to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And there were apparently some signs in the beginning of the arc that kind of like gave the impression that, yeah, that is eventually going to happen. You know, he's just going to be killed because of just him existing as a highly advanced AI. And he just cannot live with himself, literally, because of that.
And it is also the guilt of that, like, I mean, he's not fully responsible, but like by his hands, right? All his AI companions are dead.
Yes. So he kind of has a sort of suicide by cop sort of thing, similar to Char and Char's counterattack, but arguably much better written. I will definitely say that 100%, because again, with the arc being as it is, we can do the one thing that Sunrise couldn't do with Char's counterattack and have a whole show, or in this case an arc, dedicated to understanding why he's doing all of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, with the Char Aspel shit, it's more like implied, and if you read more in the deeper lore, like it does make sense and you can infer shit, right? But like, yeah, but I get it, yeah. Yeah, and the show basically just kind of ends out with a bang. You know, it has Playmaker, Playmaker basically after his epic climactic duel, he leaves for a few months, so we see Playmaker journeying deeper and deeper into the Vrains. Like, he ghosts for a few months, right? And we see Playmaker going deep into the Vrains, and then the final shot is a screenshot of I's eye, and he's like, huh? Where am I? And the show ends.
I honestly, I don't know what was that supposed to be about, but it's weird.
Yeah.
The exact ending past the duel could have been a tiny bit better, a bit more, reflective in regards to Yusaku's part, especially since with everything being done, doesn't really seem to be all that much more need for Playmaker to be a thing, but you know what? It was fine.
Yeah,
because
I mean, all the characters mentioned is like, oh yeah, he's been gone for like 3 to 6 months. He'll come back stronger than ever. And Revolver smiles. He's like, yes, he'll come back stronger than ever. We can finally continue our epic rivalry over children's card games.
Yes. But yeah, so that arc basically almost at the same level. Whereas I would probably give the first arc a 7.5, so I leaning towards an 8. This arc definitely just a solid 7 because it's not only doing something so much different most of the other shows and incorporates elements that make them work.
Like it follows through. It also follows through what happened in the previous seasons. Like the relationships get more defined. The consequence from previous arcs. Like they don't just get swept under the rug, right? Like they come back.
Absolutely, and just we get what we probably should have gotten more of in the second arc, and that is more development for Yusaku, and they do a great job here as he like literally spent all this time in the show learning and understanding I and the other Ignises and the value that they have, and now seeing that he needs to sacrifice all of that because either way, I is going to do something really, really bad. He needs to stop him, but he doesn't want to do it, but he has to anyway. And this is where the respect sort of angle, like you know how it is in a lot of shonen where you have like the villain who doesn't necessarily have any sort of hatred for the main protagonist or anything like that. They deeply respect them,
but they're also in the way. Like they value their goals more.
That is every single major villain in Vrains, aside maybe except for Light. Definitely except for Light. But aside from him, all the main villains, Revolver, Bowman, and they all have that angle in spades, and they keep rolling with it, and it's so good. It's so much different.
Yes. Now, since we've sucked off the story quite a bit, let's move on to characters and then we'll move on to the other things too. So Yusaku is, I know a lot of people find him boring. I actually find him quite relatable and quite an interesting protagonist because he kind of breaks the mold in many ways.
Yeah, I can understand the perception of him being boring because again but here's the thing, the second third of the show does not almost none of the characters any goddamn favors except for Revolver. I don't think there was a single bad scene with him during that arc at all, but aside from him no one leaves that arc unscathed because with Yusaku, especially since again the duels especially for Yusaku became incredibly formulaic. It's like, we duel. I'm nearly down my life.
Activate my super skill.
Storm Axis.
I like the part where he's dragging data, and I'm imagining it. Soul Technology is sir, we're detecting a download. It's 20 terabytes. What? It's getting higher. 30, 40 terabytes. 100. It's going over 9,000 terabytes. Who's downloading so much porn? He's just downloading. I'm gonna come.
It's going in his right hand too. Curious.
Dude, I love Storm Access. Revolver does it too. They're just sucking data in their arms and a card comes out and they can print it.
Yeah, ideally, this would be a cool way of just, having an in-universe reason for the protagonist to always have these new cards that they can use for certain duels and stuff like that. But they overuse the fucking shit out of it during speed duels as opposed to
I mean, let's be honest, most Yu-Gi-Oh protagonists' power is how much they can cheat at the game, so...
No, yes, that is also true. And you see a lot of those same issues spring up here, especially in regards to Yusaku's deck, which Cybursts in the actual game have a very consistent, sort of framework to work off of them. Just building more and more links, special summons, duet or other bullshit for the most part. But in the show, it's portrayed less that way, and basically they run a little bit into a Jaden Yuki situation where he just pulls out, especially early Jaden's deck.
Oh yeah, the combos upon combos, man.
Shit. Yeah, so many different Cyburst cards and all that shit. A lot of them debatably even being printed in the actual game, and it just feels kinda a little bit toothless. It isn't as bad as with Yugi's deck, with Yusaku's deck. Again, without the consistency with how the deck operates for the most part. It kind of, again, teeters on that whole Mary Sue aspect, which really takes a lot
I mean, the Mary Sue aspect is also that, like, Cyverse cards are incredibly rare in the setting. Like, I think Yusaku's one of the few people who has actually Cyverse.
Yes, and which, again, does a huge disservice, because his character, especially in the beginning and especially in the end, is insanely good. Because it's easy that, this character would be, just some edgelord douchebag or whatever. But his personality, although it's not super bubbly or anything, is actually well conveyed, and his interactions well done.
And quite consistent throughout the entire show.
Yes.
And I would say he's definitely a bit more of like an anti-hero protagonist as well.
Yes, especially in the beginning, where like a lot of what he is doing, you can tell that, you understand that he is doing this because of the trauma that he feels regarding, him being a victim of the lost incident. But they all also go to the angle where it's like, hey, you're doing all this stuff and you're sacrificing your own well-being and neglecting the things that you care about in order to attain these goals.
Because that's what I actually like about the show as well. Is like even though he's fighting the Knights of Hanoi and saving people, doing all these good things, it's never actually entirely framed as a positive thing. Because, like, as we said, he's Sigma male grindset Batman. Like, the hunt is his muse.
Oh yeah, and this is why I have to comment on one of the best duels in this entire show. His fight against Akira is fucking incredible.
I love it how, like, his face
is pissed. He is pissed.
And that's when you see, like, actual, like, for the first time, like, actually extreme emotion. Like, if you thought he was boring or some sort of Vulcan, like, you clearly aren't paying attention to the show. But, like, his face contorts, and, like, and it's great because, like, his hair and, like, fucking in his playmaker persona, like, it's like, it spikes up like a Saiyan, right? And he's just like, it's like, he's, like, the vengeance, like, listen, hatred is his sword, contempt is his armor, and he is on the grind set, and he will not relent. He is like this relentless. He is this relentless hunter on his pursuit of vengeance.
Yeah, it's like he is smart, but what he lacks is the emotional intelligence to deal with his problems.
Yes,
and to see the wider picture. He always felt like especially in the beginning, that he has to do all of these things on his own. Fight the Hanoi, find out the truth about
and you see that in his character, and you see that even with his character relations. Like, it's very calculated. Yes. Like even Aoi, like, it's very calculated. Like, every step, every breath he takes. Like, this is a guy. Like, I mean, he is a bit Vulcan-like, but that's because of, like, his trauma and shit like that. But everything he does is very calculated.
Yeah, absolutely. And the show,
he's all logic and facts, no feelings.
Yeah, no feelings. He's gone full Shapiro. But like it's, oh my god, it's so well done. And I wish they did more with him in the middle parts of the season, but at the very least, they don't demonstrably ruin him. They just kind of made him more of like a walking plot device during most of the second arc rather than a character, which has its own problems, to be sure, but they bring it right back in the third one, and that's why he's still really, really good, because they do a lot in order to have him connect with the other major characters like Aoi and Go and Akira and Ghost Girl and all these other characters,
and Daddy
really,
Longlegs.
Really well. Oh yeah, and the partner who is on this mission with him, they have a great dynamic. He has a lot of cool shit. I like that guy.
He's great. I think his name is, let me double check his name. I think it is, where the fuck is he? He's on this list somewhere. I like their dynamic, and I like, the interesting thing about a lot of Yusaku's relationships is that a lot of them, at the beginning, are out of pragmatism or, like, convenience. Oh, his name is Soichi.
Soichi's great.
Soichi's great. We're gonna talk about him in a little bit, but, like, what I find really interesting about Yusaku and his development is that, like, a lot of his relationships are usually out of pragmatism or opportunity, and then they become, like, actual genuine friendships. Like, there's that scene, right, where he reveals to Aoi and Akira that he's Playmaker.
Yeah, I really, really like that scene myself. And again, it's not only different, but it's also done really well. Like, the show's dialogue is really, really strong. A lot of the times with Yu-Gi-Oh, you run into the problem with, like, dialogue either being super repetitive or kind of goofy in a weird way that kind of detracts from what the scene is trying to convey. But with Vrains, a lot of the time they fix that problem. It doesn't even exist. Like, so you get a lot of the depth with Yusaku, especially in the first arc, but none of like the needless flubber, right?
No.
Yeah, it's so good. Which again is why it's disappointing that the second part of the show didn't really do a whole lot for him, but overall he is definitely one of the better Yu-Gi-Oh protagonists.
Yeah, like he kind of grows on you. Like at the beginning I was a bit kind of neutral, and as the show went on, like I really growed on him. Like there's a lot, like there's more than this, like the initial blank expression he like portrays himself as.
Yeah, absolutely. And the show does a really good job of just setting him apart and basically using that as a focal point to write around all the most of the other elements of the show, like you said earlier about his relationships being a lot more calculated than literally any of the other ones. Especially with everyone having their own like certain goals, like well-defined goals in the show, it makes it all the much more like heart-wrenching when he starts connecting with people, and that's really good.
And then he starts losing them, or they get in harm's way.
Yeah.
Like it's and speaking of other characters, do you want to move on to some of the others before we kind of like talk about the art and stuff and kind of wrap this up?
Oh, yeah, totally. You want to talk about Aoi or any other ones?
I really like Aoi and Ghost Girl, but we'll do Aoi first. I like her development and like the issue she has, and I also like during the show, like her relationship with her brother because the interesting thing about her relationship with his brother is it's not like outwardly toxic, but it's the type of relationship that is getting toxic.
Yeah, exactly. It's not super like overtly antagonistic, because with Akira, you know, he's just trying to do everything to keep her safe, keep her out of like the speed duel bullshit and what's going on with the knights and everything. And Aoi is not only just trying to have a connection with him, but also just finding her own identity and what she values in herself. You know, because all she's got really is her brother, and all he's got is her. Like, it's almost like codependence in a way. But yeah, like it's a very interesting relationship. But I love the scene in season 3 where they tag tool together. Yes, that was good. I love that. Absolutely, it was great. And unlike in other shows I know about, you know, the codependence is not only established but followed through on, and both characters aren't vilified or completely like in the right because of it. Both characters have their issues, they settle them, they get established, they get fleshed out, and all the better for it because they grow.
Yeah, and what's even greater and what's even cool, right, is that you even see it in the background. Like when you see a bit of Aoi's apartment and their apartment, like even second season, third season, it's a lot brighter. It's a lot less dimmer. Like even when like it's a lot more brighter, more colorful, all that stuff. Like it's a bit more comfy. Which is what, like, even in the first season, like, after, you know, she gets, you know, mind fucked, right? Like, even then, like, you see the room around her brighter and more thing like that. Like, you even see in the background that the relationship is changing.
Yeah, and not only that, but unlike most of the other female protagonists in the series, Aoi is consistently relevant throughout the entire show. She gets some of the best duels in the entire series. She does significant damage to the more formidable duelists in the show. The only problem I have with her, or more so the way that the show treats her, is again the middle portion of the show where half the time she's a jobber. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, and also, can I just say, I love her little little sister relationship with like Ghost School or Emma. That's just great.
So good.
But can we just say, I adore fucking Emma. She's like this fucking Catwoman, trapdoor fucking Spider Woman, and I fucking adore her. And she drives a motorbike, and she's always like having these snarky banners of Akia or Soichi. Like, it's just great.
Or Yusaku.
It's
always so good. And like, I didn't expect.
And I love at the beginning, right, where you think she's like, oh, she likes money. She's like, oh, money, 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 and you find out, oh, why does she like money? Like, it's very reasonable why she's like. Like, I mean, at the beginning, right, she's this woman, she doesn't mix business for pleasure. And then the lines start crossing, especially when you go further on. Where, I mean, I think she's partly doing this because she enjoys it.
Yeah.
It becomes less about the money.
Yeah, and they use her in very good ways of just, like, fleshing out the mystery of each arc, because she is always just doing her own thing in the background. Everybody's trying to get information from her,
she's hacking. Like, she's fucking... Like, she's very proactive as well.
Yeah. And again, I didn't expect her to have a relationship with Aoi at first, but it actually makes a whole lot of sense why she would do that. Because, like I said, Aoi is just trying to go through these different stages of not only being more useful to the others, but also to find her own independence. So she kind of looks at, in a way, she looks at Emma, who does all of her own thing on her own, for similar reasons, as we'll find out later.
Yeah, and like it also helps that like Emma is like, you know, she's a woman that knows what she wants, she has the skills to do it, and she's going for it. And Al sees this like, oh, maybe if I could be a bit like her, you know?
Yeah, which makes it all more satisfying when she, you know, finds her own identity in the end. But Emma has a lot of good development as well. She doesn't have as many great duels as the others. She's one of the sort of like semi-tertiary supporting characters. But she's good, yeah, she's still around. And she isn't just completely like Flanderized.
Yeah, and I also like the reveal of her relationship with Blood Shepherd.
Yeah.
I did not expect that.
For later.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. We'll move on to like Akira, who I quite like him, but I'll let you fucking suck his cock off. I'm just gonna say Akira is the fucking MV fucking P of the show. I love this dude. I adore him. Like at the beginning, right? I was a little about him, but like as the show goes on, the dude is the fucking MVP.
He is absolutely great. Like not only again. Take all shit we said about his relationship with Aoi and slap it onto here, but we see him progress with his own character because he's just trying to like get to the bottom of what's going on with Soul Technologies and become basically like one of the main directors there, so that not only can he just like make a better life for his sister, but also for everybody else. But also his dynamic with Yusaku is actually really, really good, which brings us to this great duel. A bit of play-by-play here. This takes place in the first season. Basically, Yusaku got tricked into infiltrating this network system within Soul Technologies to find out more about the Knights of Hanoi, the Lost Incident, all the shit involving that. Because Yusaku does not have any of his memories from before that incident happened. So that's partially why this is why he's doing what he's doing. Akira knows this. Akira knows everything about it, and he is keeping it away from Yusaku, not because he's just siding with Soul Technologies, because he's going up against them too. He doesn't want Yusaku to get involved because he views him as a victim. He views him as almost a complete victim of the entire situation, and this is where his big brother instincts kind of come in. He that in a way they're both the same. He wishes to take all of the flack onto himself and not allow Yusaku to help. And Yusaku feels the same way because fuck you, man. This is my past. This is my shit. And I have to deal with this myself because I was the one who lost the most of this. I need to deal with this. And Akira understands this, but he needs to get in his way, in his mind. And the duel is great. It's amazing. By the end of it, Yusaku still wins and does what he's going to do anyway, but he comes off a lot better because of it. He ends up just learning a bit more about Akira as a person, and you find out like Akira's actually a pretty doesn't have the same mindset as he did before. Yeah, like Akira is just a really good guy. Like you can't hate him, and he's just a good dude all around. Yeah, and he just wants to take care of his little sister. It's just and the duel was fucking great. Who we have next? We'll save Suichi for later. Yeah, we got to go with the Go Onizuka. He's quite a divisive character. I like him in the first season. I like the fact that, I like the idea that he's jealous of Playmaker and all this shit. However, what they do from him in the second season... everybody got shafted in one way or another in the second season of the show. I guess we'll just call it that. Go Onizuka got the fucking 12-inch rod. Dude, like... if I don't know who got worse, Go in the second season or Ren from Ruby in season 8, because it's so bad. They basically just flanderized him, not even taking into account his motivation that his character actually has, in order to basically make him an obstacle for Playmaker. Because we got Solber, we got Blood Shepherd, we got so many other characters running around doing all this shit. We can't have Go stay here, and we can't make too many cards for his deck. So what do? We make him a bad guy.
The funny thing is that funny thing is that like his Goki deck actually, like in terms of real life Yu-Gi-Oh, is actually better than the actual new deck he has when he becomes a bounty hunter, which is ironic.
Yes. Oh my god, it's so.
It's like a downgrade, dude. I love the episode, right, where he becomes like a heel, like he's dueling, I think, Revolver or something like that, and like he becomes a heel, and Playmaker shows up, he says like, I've come here to laugh at you.
Yeah.
Dude, like, I loved Go Onizuka in the first season. Second season, I was just like, wow, what? And it gets worse, right? Like, they merged him with the Earth AI that they killed.
Yes. Which could have been an interesting idea if they slapped it onto a different character, but why the fuck would Go even do this? It doesn't make sense. Like, it's just clear that they only did this because they didn't have anything for him to do. It's so dumb.
Yeah, like, I would have liked it if, say, Go, like, he still has that rival with Playmaker, and he there is a bit of, like jealousy, right? But he's like, but
he's not an idiot.
Yeah, he's not an idiot, and he's not that fucking amoral.
Yeah. It's so crazy. Like, we just had him go past a lot of his jealousy before, but now it's just dredging. They did. Oh my god! You know what it is?
Character assassination.
Worse. No, it's not just that. It's specifically, it's worse than what they did with Mai during the Orichalcos arc in season. What was it? Season 4.
Yeah. Oh yes, that shit.
Yeah, with the leather jacket, gave her a motorcycle and made her a bad guy because for some reason she just couldn't win any duels or whatever.
And she also has a crush on Joey Wheeler and his like seductive suave Brooklyn accent.
Yeah, well, it's even worse here. Well, honestly, I don't even know if it's worse. It's, you know what, to me it's worse because Go had way more potential than Mai, but also because it was so much more arbitrary than how they did it with Mai during the Orichalcos arc. I will say that. It's just so bad. He ends up becoming just almost an entirely different character.
Yeah, he's almost like a shell of his former self.
Even when they try to like bring things back around in the third season, like by then the damage had been done. He's basically a jobber now. Who cares?
Yeah, and I actually liked his character, you know, he's this wrestling guy orphan who fights for kids and stuff like that, you know, he duels for, you know, the smiles of children to make this orphanage a better place. Like, he's a good dude. I mean, yeah, he's jealous of Playmaker and shit like that, but, you know, Playmaker's a fucking prodigy, so... But, like, you know, like, you had something interesting...
But he has other priorities.
Yeah, he has other priorities.
Other priorities going.
Yeah, he's other shit going on. You take that character, and you basically push him down a fucking cliff, right? And... like, what we're getting, right, is the mangled corpse that's left over. And honestly, I thought Go Onizuka could make a very interesting, if not rival, or like maybe, what's that TV trope, like the Lancer or something like that, like the second in command or something like that.
Lancer.
Yeah, the Lancer. Yeah. Like, I think he'd Go Onizuka to make that, because like, he'd also make a good contrast to Yusaku as well. Because Go Onizuka, he's passion. Like, he is raw passion and emotions, while Yusaku is not. He's rationalism, you know, like, he's facts, not feelings.
He is so bad that freaking Soul Burner just comes in, like when he had to do him, he was like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, like Soul Burner's like, I looked up to
you, man.
I was inspired by you after you guys battled the Notes for Noe, I was inspired by you, and this is what you've become. You're not worth my idol anymore. You suck.
And like, I want to make it clear, I am not against the idea of Go being a bad guy or doing bad things. I'm against
how they handled it
that led us to that point. The stupid bullshit that led us to that point. It is so bad. I forgot the exact specifics of it, but I don't care. It doesn't make sense.
Especially what had been established previously. Now, speaking of Soulburner, we'll move on to that. I like Soulburner, however, he doesn't have as much charisma as I would hope. Like, I like him, and I think he's a good, like, teammate for Playmaker. However, their relationship together is not as hyped in the openings or ending songs you get of them, and he just doesn't have the same charisma.
Yeah, not just that, but like a lot of the stuff that would involve, like, here's the thing, there's still a lot of potential in regards to Soulburner because he went through a lot of the same things that Yusaku did, but his circumstances were slightly different, so his trauma is different and how he's dealing with it.
I mean, he used to be a delinquent, and then when he moved to the city, right, he got glasses, looked, all well mannered, and he's got like this childhood friend who wants to take his burning sword and heal his burning heart. Oh, I will soothe your burning soul, Soulburner.
Okay, let's not go that far, but like, yeah, like he has a lot of potential, and he has some good scenes with the other characters, especially his duel with Revolver.
Yeah, and it's great because it's also partially over like his AOA partner died. Like, that dude ain't coming back, and he doesn't like it. Like, he's like, my friend fucking died for this.
Yeah, it is insanely incredible. But almost everything regarding that is like boring at best and just takes away from the other characters at worst. Like, Go had to get beaten around for Soulburner to even exist as like a secondary character because I guess Go isn't as marketable or fucking whatever. I don't care.
Listen, when you got a guy who lights his hand on fucking fire and channels the spirit of Amaterasu, right? The sun god of Japanese myth, like, that's far more marketable. Like, who gives a fuck about this wrestler dude who's really passionate about the game and wants to help out this orphanage that took him in and raised him and see kids smile? We don't give a fuck about that. Soulburner is the Japanese fighting spirit that will burn everything, and 20 billion men dead of heaven are gonna die.
If I were cynical, I would say that they only go out like that because he's black. You can cut this out if you want.
No, I'm gonna keep it. It's funny.
Yes, I don't know if somebody has ever made that argument before. I wouldn't be surprised because it's so funny.
Yeah, but like with Soulburner, like, I like him as his character. I just think he takes up way too much spotlight than he actually deserves.
Yes,
and he makes Blue Angel and Go Onisaka look like fucking jobbers.
Basically. It's such a mixed bag with him, which is unfortunate.
Now,
moving on though.
Now let's move on to a rival that's actually good, Revolver.
Dude, Revolver steals. He is hard carrying this entire show. Seriously, he has everything you could possibly want.
Charisma, competent, intelligent. Like, he's the great fucking rival and villain. I would say, in terms of like the trifecta, I say that he's equal to Seto Kaiba, and Jack Atlas is just a bit under him. Like, I think him and Seto Kaiba are at the top, and Jack Atlas is like just a little bit under them.
Yes, because like, he has all the great parts of Yusaku on top of having a great dynamic with him.
Charismatic,
also,
and
he doesn't have. Yeah, his voice acting's great. His deck is phenomenal. His duels are all.
It's gun dragons. What the fuck? Like, it's so fucking cool. And his Tepo Logic dragon things, those Cerberus things. I'm gonna fight poison with poison. I love the thing when he summons like Gambler Dragon. When it summons, it's like dun dun dun. Brr. when he summons that thing for the first time, I'm like, holy shit, this is cool.
Oh my god. Like, dude, you know I fucking love when he summons, like, Borlo Dragon, and he attacks with it. He literally has to put on a visor when it attacks to withstand the impact.
And this is a dragon with a revolver for a chest. It's opening this giant cannon, and it's clicking, and it just goes like, bang, bang, bang.
Oh my god,
America!
So incredible. But like his dynamic with Usagi, not just him, but the other characters are great. And he never comes off as weak in any of them. He does not have a single bad scene. His motivation is great.
Yeah.
He has a lot of the same sort of like you said, charisma and you know showmanship that you would kind of see from Seto and Jack, but it doesn't undercut the depth that is there or the sympathetic aspects of him.
I mean, like, here's the thing: as great as Jack is, like, you can't beat Seto Kaiba. You're a third world duelist with a 4th-rank deck or something like that, or I've got fuck you money. You can't, like, Seto Kaiba takes like showmanship to the next level, but Revolver with what budget he has, he's amazing.
Yeah, he is incredible.
The dude is results on a fucking budget.
Like, this show is worth existing just for him alone. Not even joking. He is so well written. Yeah, he is so well written and so well done.
And his backstory is so fucked, right? Like, basically, he's keeping his father alive, who got stuck in a coma for inventing the Ignises, and we find out that he's actually the person that saved Yusaku and all the lost children, the people in the lost incident or whatever. Like, he's the one who's, like, he betrayed his father because he felt bad for those children, but then in doing and betraying his father got completely fucked, and now he's torn between, like, you know, it's so great.
Yeah, and like, the best part about him is that it's very rare where Revolver is just completely out of his depth. Like, even when he loses a duel, most of the time, he still manages to bounce back just a tiny bit through just a very good plan.
Razor's Edge.
Absolutely. He is fantastic. One of the top two best rivals in Yu-Gi-Oh! In fact, in terms of characterization, I put him way above Kaiba. Kaiba ain't shit in terms of that, in my opinion.
You're breaking my fucking heart. I love Seto Kaiba.
Oh no, Kaiba's great, and he fits a lot of the vibe of the show. He has a lot of meme value, and his character isn't too bad either.
I mean, Seto Kaiba is the type of dude who'll spend billions of dollars so he can transfer his soul to the afterlife so he can fight a tech. I mean, if that's not based, I don't know what is.
It is really, really based. But a lot of what Revolver does is also based, like, remember, I forget exactly what it is, but he made this sort of, like, really good, like, counterplay. I think he dueled Light once, right?
Yes.
And I forget exactly what he did, but he had this really good exchange with them. Like, this is the part where Revolver is just going ham, because his motivation is that he hates the Ignises and what they represent. And Light is the very thing that proves him correct. So he is going all in on bitching the fuck out. And it's incredible. He is just laying down all the smack talk. None of the ambiguity, none of that. He is going all in. Yep. It's incredible.
Alright. There's a few more characters we're going to talk about a bit more. With the AI, in general, I think they're great. But we'll get to AI in a bit. I want to talk about Spectre a little bit. Greatest right-hand man to an antagonist I've ever seen in a Yu-Gi-Oh show. He is the king of trolls.
He does a lot of really good mindfuckery stuff, especially with Aoi. Could have been slightly fleshed out a little bit more, because I think he was also a victim of the lost incident.
He was.
But we don't get a whole lot in regards to that, from what I can remember, which is a bit disappointing.
Yeah, I think he's a bit, like, wasted potential a little bit, but, like, I still think he's fun. He's great.
Yeah, like, didn't he have a duel with Blood Shepherd? That was really good?
I think so, he might have. I mean, I know he, like, fucked with, Blue Angel quite a bit. And, we'll get to Blood Shepherd in a second. Now, when it comes to like, the Dark Ignis, as he's also referred to, his character development is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And I love the fact, right, that it's actually hinted, and even like they tell you at the end, right, like at the end, is that, like, a lot of the stuff that happens, like, especially in the first season, like, AI was actually in a way manipulating Yusaku, and he knew a lot more than initially thought.
Yes, absolutely. He has he has a lot. He keeps a lot of the cards that he has that at his disposal close to the chest, which again adds a lot more to the dynamic compared to the other ones because of just how different that the main duo dynamic is compared to the others, where it's not like a mutually like friendly beneficial thing. It's not the kind of thing like with Yuma and Astral where both of them one of them is completely out of their depth and the other one is just pulling this kid around. They are both competent, with I slightly pulling ahead just because of just what he is. And Yusaku doesn't come off like lesser for it, and they add to each other. They have a lot of good jokes together. And again, as I said, as the show progresses, his jokey aspects dial back significant and makes him much more fleshed out in regards to his feelings towards the other Ignises. So that when we get to the point where he does become a bad guy, it is not jarring or nonsensical in the slightest, as far as I am aware. It makes complete sense, especially what's already been established, which just makes it even more heartbreaking. Which is why, even though it's not as like iconic, I will always probably hold this duel a lot closer in my heart than the final duel between Yugi and Yami in the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Because again, the relationship here feels a lot more like
tit for
both
tat.
characters. Yeah, it's a lot more tit for tat. Both characters develop naturally, much more naturally throughout the show. Whereas Atem got a lot of development, but Yugi barely really did or had his characterization utilized as much, at least in the anime. So when we get to the point where we're going through the same sort of thing here, the dynamics are not only completely different, but much more like further fleshed out.
Yep. Also, we're just going to talk about Shinichi quickly. I love him. He's a great... I like him as a great, like, secondary right-hand man to Yusaku as well. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's great. His relationship with him is... it's actually really charming. You know, he's kind of a jokey, sarcastic dude. Kind of evens out with Yusaku, but not in the same way that I does, where it's sort of like self-serving in a lot of ways. It's more so just sort of like a mutual back and forth a little bit.
Yeah,
especially with him being older than Yusaku.
Yeah, and I also like the scene where they dueled each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's great.
I would have liked it better if his whole thing with his brother was a bit more fleshed out. But other than that, I think that
I think it was good for what we got. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, do you want to talk about Blood Shepherd? And then we can move on to Roboppy, and then I think we've pretty much talked about most of the major characters.
Blood Shepherd, yeah, he's pretty damn good. I'm surprised that the his relationship with Ghost Girl wasn't as tacked on as it probably could have been given the circumstances. But yeah, he does a lot of badass shit. He is a formidable opponent to Yusaku and the other characters.
He's got a cyborg arm that shoots lasers.
Yeah, he shoots the laser beams. His freaking deck is airplane themed. He looks like a cyber cowboy. Like, what more can you really want?
Yep.
Like seriously. He is just great. He is very... He isn't... I wouldn't necessarily put him in the upper echelon of the characters, but he's very nearing there.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. Next we move on to, I guess, the last character we're going to talk about, because there is other stuff we want to talk about, but like if we spent here all day, we'd probably be sucking the show off for like hours on end.
Yeah.
I want to go into the character like Roboppy, right? So Roboppy is this house cleaner AI that Yusaku made, right? And it has a bit of a relationship with I, and as the show goes on, it becomes smarter and smarter and smarter until eventually something very tragic happens to it. It turns evil, and Yusaku has to put it down.
Yep, and you would think, you know, it would be like kind of sort of played off as laughs a little bit, but no,
it isn't.
It's treated. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, because you find out that this little AI thing is one of Yusaku's only companions. Because we don't see his parents, and he lives alone in this fucking apartment, and before I showed up, like, one of his only companions is this little vacuum cleaner robot he built for himself.
And yeah, I'm pretty sure Yusaku's parents are dead. Yeah, I'm pretty sure his parents are dead.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was all that he had. And again, even though the jokes with them could be hit or miss, we see them interact with I a whole lot. It was, pretty cute, and you just liked where
like
it was
this
going.
little robot getting smarter and smarter and getting more complicated, and then like basically like its system can't handle its own intelligence and it's dying, right? And Yusaku just has to put it down. And here's the thing: they never build back Roboppy back. Like it's dead. Like it ain't coming back.
Yeah, they are just they are just gone. And it's kind of heartwarming. Like I won't say that I love it probably as much as Bio here does, but I do overall think it was pretty well handled.
Yeah. When it comes to like the music and art and animation, I'd say this show's pretty good. I'd say the art suffers a little bit in the beginning, and there's a few scenes, especially like the recap fucking episodes. But I'd say like overall, this show is pretty solid.
Yeah, in terms of the visual design, what was it? The art style generally is really good, especially in the like big important duels. There are a little bit of some like iffy parts, especially in some of Go's duels from what I can remember. But for the most part, they did a really good job of just making them look cool, which is pretty much, there's a whole lot you can ask in regards to that for Yu-Gi-Oh, but still.
Yeah.
The music can be a little bit repetitive, but there are some good ones there.
I'm going to say, this show had, out of all the Yu-Gi-Oh shows I watched, I think this one had consistently the most openings and ending songs I've ever liked.
Yeah, I will definitely say that as well.
Yeah. And before we wrap this up, so people, remember the premise, the pitch of the show, right? Like, take a step forward and try is the premise and shit like that. That's what we were presented with, and what the fuck we get? Depression.
Yep. Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Everybody needs some therapy. There you go.
That's the theme of the show.
Even with the stuff that happens in the second season, which again, mixed bag, it is almost entirely worth it for all the other content as a whole. I will definitely, for my I think the score that I gave Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains as a whole is like a 7 out of 10.
I gave it a 7 out of 10 as well.
That is one of the best installments for the series. It does a lot of great aspects. It has a lot of good characters. It has so many great duels that are definitely worth watching. I'm probably gonna rewatch at some point. Maybe make a video about it at some point. Who knows? Mystery. But overall, it's a great show, and I think more people should pay attention to it. Give it more credit.
Yeah, I would also agree. Like, despite some of the limitations the show had, it is fairly good. Like, for me, this show is like another draft away from being like an 8 out of 10, but because of limits.
Like if it hadn't been for the limitations of the studio and the mandates, the stupid mandates by Konami as a company, I don't think the pandemic was really a thing at that time. It was nowhere near in sight at that time. So it was mainly just like studio interference that's been causing this. Once I find out the exact thing, I think there's a video that talks about it. I know where I can find it. I just need to go get it. Bio can probably just link it or show it in this video.
Yeah, I'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah, because this again is a travesty, but because this show is basically the last one where the original creator of the franchise has any creative involved. From here on out, we're just in new territory.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I've seen the first few a good number of episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. For a different vibe, it's actually pretty decent so far.
Yeah, I tried watching it, I just couldn't get into it. Like, it's just not my bag.
Fair, but the opening is a fucking banger, though.
Yes, I can agree. Yeah, I agree.
So, what score would you give Vrains?
I'd give Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains like a 7 out of 10. Like, a solid 7 out of 10. This is highly recommended to watch.
Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, if you haven't watched it, go out there, just try it out. You will. It's a bit rough, but for the most part, I think it's something special.
Yeah, like it suffers like a lot. Like Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds had massive issues as well. Like,
oh yes.
If we ever talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, which we might in the future. Hint, hint, wink,
We'll
wink.
we'll have to rewatch it, but I will definitely be up to talking about it.
Yeah, like, I definitely think we should do Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains next, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds next, because that show is also very interesting, and it's in a similar vein. Like, it's a draft or two away from being a masterpiece, essentially.
Yes.
Anyway, hope you all enjoyed this cast. We definitely enjoyed it. Basically, Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains is good. Go watch it. Any final ending thoughts before we end this officially?
Also, go to my channel, YouTube/Kaiser Shounen.
Don't worry, I'll be linking it in the show notes.
Give me some more clout.
Yeah, he's been doing an epic ownage takedown using facts, not feelings, on the Ruby franchise. But by the way, despite reading all the porn, I still can't leave a comment on your video because I haven't watched the show yet. I only know the porn, apparently. I can't make a comment.
You can still comment on just like my delivery video or whatever the hell, but that's aside the point. We're here to wank off Vrains, and we've done that job, so we can focus on my content some other time.
All right, yeah. So I'll see you all later. I'll see you all for next video. And bye bye for now. We'll see Kaiser Shounen probably a little later. So bye bye.
See y'all around.
Peace out.